Good morning, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. It's 9 o'clock in the morning right now at the time I'm shooting this video, Eastern Time. And we already have our winter storm beginning to unfold here around the Midwest here. Mainly around central Nebraska is where the greatest area of concern is right now, because we have freezing rain and wintry mix of precipitation falling there. Then over towards the Dakotas, of course, or South Dakota particularly, we have snow. And that is working into the panhandle of Nebraska as well. But southern Nebraska is an area of great concern, because we were expecting up to about maybe a tenth of an inch to about a quarter inch of ice, maybe more in some spots. But that's the main thing that we're dealing with here. We'll look at the time frame on when this is expected to move out, and then when we go back over and out of radar Omega, we look at our enhanced risk, which is actually now looks like it's grown a bit and has pushed a little further north, maybe into that I guess you call it a boot heel of Missouri. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it looks like we now have a little bit of an expansion of that enhanced risk area, as well as an increase on the slight risk area as well. Confidence has increased more so over the last day or so in more of a tornado threat with this system than a damaging wind threat. We'll still see an abundance of both from the looks of things, but the tornado threat is the area of greatest concern. And also, I don't know if you saw it, I'll actually go back just to make sure that you do, but I called this yesterday after looking at a few soundings that Tuesday will be upgraded to an enhanced risk, and that has now come to fruition. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And now we have our marginal risk on Wednesday, also called that, and this is for the Carolinas. So let's start out with the enhanced risk for today. We already have an idea of what's going on here. I just mentioned it. There is an increased tornado threat, and also a threat for strong to maybe even violent tornadoes. This exists from Little Rock all the way down in towards Lufkin, and maybe even Wake. Well, Waco's not in it, but over towards Lufkin, Tyler, you guys are in there as well. You guys are in that 10% hatched risk area. If you're in the 5% area, though, you can't let your guard down at all. And this is also expanded a little further to the west, too. Like Tulsa is just outside of that 5% marker there. Springfield, Missouri, you are actually in it now. We have Greenville in that 5% area. Alexandria, Louisiana, you're in there too. Lufkin, you're just on the cutting edge of being in between the 10 and the 5, so definitely going to be watching you guys very closely. Storms are probably going to be firing in this area about maybe 1 or 2 p.m. Central Time. We look at the wind threat. It's pretty much in coherence with that enhanced risk region. No hatched risk area, which is good news. If there's any solace to be had in that, and this will be it for right now, at least. Maybe this will underperform and we won't have too much issue. But that's what we have going on with the wind there. And of course, we have our hail threat. The hail threat lingers a little bit further back to the west, where those lapse rates are a little bit more ideal. But over towards the east, we can still get some hailstones that are about an inch in diameter or greater. So let's go ahead and move to the 3rd, which is tomorrow. And here is our new enhanced risk area. And this is mainly towards the southern end of this. And this is right where you don't want it to be. We see New Orleans in here again. It seems like we just can't seem to get away from you guys when it comes to severe weather. Really sorry that you guys are going through this. But Mobile, we're also watching you guys now, as well, as you look like you're just inside that enhanced risk line, or just right on it. I would say you're definitely inside the slight risk there. Birmingham, you're right on the cusp of being on slight and enhanced. Some areas that are a little bit further to the south. I wouldn't say Enterprise, Alabama's in there, but you guys are very close to it. Hattiesburg, you're in there. Montgomery, you are in that enhanced risk. Meridian, you're definitely in there, as well as Hoover. Baton Rouge, you're definitely in the enhanced risk. SPC is saying New Orleans is still in the slight risk for now, but we got to keep in mind that with us being so close to that enhanced risk, it can easily end up jogging a little bit further south here, because that's where some of the warmest and most moist air will be. So we'll have to watch you as well. Some other areas to keep note of are Jackson, Alexandria. I think your storm threat will be earlier in the day. Birmingham, you're in the slight risk right now. And then Enterprise, you are in that slight risk. And we're getting a little bit, we're starting to get into the Florida Panhandle here. I think Panama City's just outside of it. Looks like areas just off to the east of Jackson, Tennessee, towards southern Tennessee. We're having to watch you. Chattanooga, you're no longer in the slight risk for now. We'll have to see how this setup behaves over the next 24 hours. But we'll have to watch you guys again. But you are in a marginal risk along with Atlanta, Columbus, Dothan, Nashville, Bowling Green, Louisville, mainly towards central Kentucky. There is a very small chance you see severe weather, but that the threat does exist. I think as this goes a little further to the east, I'm gonna say that probably this part of the North Atlantic shouldn't be seeing severe weather. A pulse severe storm is possible, but I'm not expecting too much significant out of that. When we look at the hazard types, this is a tornado-generated enhanced risk, unfortunately. So the concern here is mainly going to be for tornadoes. The wind threat and the hail threat are both, as of right now, are at slight risk. Well, hail's actually at marginal risk, to be honest. Lapse rates aren't going to be quite as impressive with this system as we hang over towards the Gulf here. So that's going to be, our main concern will be threats of at least the wind variety, including tornadoes. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some composite reflectivity. We'll look at this area first today, because this is where most of our storms are going to be firing within the next few hours. Oops. And we can already start to see, just before we get into the noon hour, that we get some convection. There's going to be 2 rounds of storms here. This first round looks a little bit linear, but there is potential for a few discrete cells, especially towards south central Arkansas. But we'll watch this clear out. But here's one thing that I do find a bit noteworthy as we watch this evolve here. That low-level jet's going to start to kick in around this time here, and this is heading into the evening hours. We can start to see that some of that wind shear starting to push these supercells outward and allowing them to rotate a bit more. This never really goes fully linear. And then as we look forward, the second round comes in, and there's a line of embedded supercells with tornado potential as well. You can kind of see that same curvature that you were seeing just a couple frames ago. So we're having to watch you guys for maybe even a nocturnal event, multiple rounds of severe weather. And this won't clear out until the morning hours. And even so, you can still see some supercellular structure with this as we start to head into the Tuesday morning time frame. So let's go ahead and shift this over a bit, and we'll go ahead and start looking at the southeastern picture. So we'll jump this about 22 hours, and we can see our line of storms that's developed here. So far it looks linear, but watch what happens as I move this forward. This line starts to die off in activity a little bit, and then new storms will end up popping up here, and these are the ones that I'm concerned about with the potential for tornadoes. Any prefrontal storms like right around here during this time 20Z, which in reality is about maybe 3-4 o'clock tomorrow, some of these storms could go tornadic here, especially towards this little southern sector here. In a way, these storms kind of end up creating an environment that's ideal for tornadic activity here. And we'll watch this roll forward, and eventually the threat will diminish by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. But there could be a resurgence of activity as we look towards Wednesday morning towards the Carolinas, southern Georgia in particular, and also maybe even a little bit of the mid-Atlantic. Speaking of which, that reminds me, we'll also have to take a look at day 3. I don't have the means to look at day 3 right now, but this is what we're looking like right now. Carolinas are involved in this. I've been talking about this area being of interest for a bit now. Southern Georgia and the Panhandle of Florida, you're in there as well. Right now it's a marginal risk. There is potential for this to be upgraded to slight risk. This all will depend on how that storm system holds up tomorrow. if it can maintain its strength throughout the day. But based on that latest HRRR run, actually, I would say that there's actually a solid chance of that holding together. So that being said, somewhere around here, I think will be the area of greatest potential for an upgrade. Right around southern Georgia and along the Georgia South Carolina line. The I guess you could say that's the I-20 I-95 corridor. That's where I'm going to be watching the most. And then maybe towards the Panhandle of Florida too. We'll be watching you. Some areas that are included in this, of course, Raleigh, Charlotte, Columbia, Augusta, Georgia, you're in there too. Savannah, you're in there. Macon, Georgia. Warner Robins, you're in there too. Dothan, Alabama. Panama City, Tallahassee. We'll be watching you guys on Thursday here. It's pretty unclear. To me, it's relatively clear actually what mode we'll be concerned with. Mainly going to be damaging winds, but we still can't rule out tornadoes. Dynamics are there, just not quite in the same abundance as what we'll be seeing over the next couple of days. But yeah, you can even see it on this reflectivity scan here. Even though we're looking at the maximum hours allotted on this model, you can see that there's still plenty of energy around here. There's still a few discrete storms, but mainly we're looking more towards a linear event. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the significant tornado parameter as well, just to kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with today and into tomorrow. Greatest tornado threat, in my opinion, looks like it's definitely going to be more towards south central and central Arkansas, over towards Little Rock. I definitely would advise you guys to be prepared today. If you have the time, if you have the privilege of time, then go ahead and set yourself up now. So that way, whenever these storms start to come through, you have a plan and you can just jump right into it from here. Not the highest significant tornado parameter numbers I've seen. 2s, maybe a few 3s in there as of right now. But as time goes on, it does look like it starts to pick up later into the evening here. I think the highest threat actually might be overnight, and this is towards southern Arkansas, where we end up seeing maybe a 4, close to a 5. That's leaning more towards like a 2, 2.5 right here. But if you actually look at the numbers here, it's a good storm relative velocity. Mixed layer cape is there. It's over 1,000 joules. And the lapse rates are good towards the upper levels of the atmosphere. The mid levels are a little bit questionable. But this does have an indicator of a supercell along with significant hail. But this does look a little bit linear in fashion. So we'll have to see what ends up happening here, but we're gonna have to keep. But it's clear that there's some type of severe threat with this system, or some type of tornadic potential with this, I should say. And then when we go into tomorrow, I actually think there could be a few areas where we get up into that same range. There's one back towards Mississippi here. I don't think it's going to have the same kind of potential here. Look at that. See, we're good at the low levels. Towards the upper levels, we're starting to get into that linear type of mode. So tornado threat is going to start to eventually dwindle. It's ironic that the same Cape value on that last one is exactly the same here. I do kind of find that amusing. But there's still potential for a stronger tornado. It's about EF2. Not saying that would occur if this dropped the tornado, but the potential is there. We're going to jump this back to where we were, and then we'll watch this tornado potential start to dwindle as we head in towards tomorrow. But there's still something here towards southern Georgia on Wednesday morning here. So, like I said, something to keep an eye on here towards southern Georgia, and then eventually into the Carolinas, right before this storm system heads out to sea. So a lot going on here today. We're going to be dealing with the wintry side of this system. If you're not needing to travel over towards Nebraska in particular, southern Nebraska especially, maybe Iowa too later today, definitely try to avoid it. tenth of an inch to quarter inch ice. No one wants to drive in that. In reality, it just makes road conditions really bad, and then of course power outages can become a thing, especially once you get to that quarter inch range. Then as far as the severe weather threat is concerned, expect things to pick up towards Texas and Oklahoma, probably about 1 or 2 o'clock Central Time, and then it'll just pick up from there and move a little further to the east. I think the most dangerous timing of this setup will probably lean more into, I would say, my brain's not working, but I would lean more towards, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 o'clock. That's when that first line of storms will really start to pick up in intensity. And then we also have to look for that nocturnal threat too. So if you're in south to central Arkansas, definitely be weather aware today. But that's the end of this video. No more rambling from me. I might check in with a video tonight. Also kind of getting into further detail with tomorrow's threat. And then we'll just go from there. But anyway, this has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. You guys stay safe. I will see you in the next one.